Eleanor never thought she'd sell her wedding ring. For 55 years, it stayed on her finger, a reminder of love. But now, at 78, she must let it go to afford the medicine bill. Unaware that selling her ring would lead to something incredible, a woman she had never met, Usha Vance, would soon learn her story. What happened next would touch many hearts. This video is about sacrifice, an unexpected bond, and a kindness that changed lives. Eleanor looked at her bill. It was too high. She had only a few pills left, not enough to last the day. Her fingers hurt so much just holding the bill was hard. The ring on her finger reminded her of her love for Thomas. As she sat in her quiet apartment, memories of their life together came rushing back. Thomas worked hard for months to buy the ring. "Only the best for my girl," he had said. The ring was too big at first, but he promised she'd grow into it, just like their love. Through happy days, struggles, and losses, the ring stayed with her, a symbol of their bond. She hadn't taken it off since the funeral. Today, Eleanor carefully polished the ring. It used to be a Sunday routine, with Thomas reading the paper beside her. Her hands ached, but she didn't stop. "You made me promise," she whispered. Her voice echoed, "to take care of myself." She had promised him, and she always kept her promises. The ring shone brightly as she opened the newspaper. There it was, Morrison's fine jewelry, just 6 blocks away. Bills and empty prescription bottles lay on the table, waiting. Eleanor stood up, ready to face what she had to do. She left their home, feeling the weight of the past. With each step, memories flooded back. The first time they met, their wedding day, the day they lost their daughter. She walked on, knowing what she had to do. The ring would always remind her of their love. But now, she had to keep her promise. A young couple passed by, laughing. The girl's ring sparkled, and Eleanor smiled softly. She remembered being young, thinking love could fix everything. Love had helped them through tough times. Thomas losing his job, Sarah's sickness, and long nights when Thomas's heart was failing. Love had kept her going, even after losing him. Now love was asking her to let go of her ring. As she reached Morrison's fine jewelry, the ring felt heavier. She remembered the day Thomas asked her to take care of herself, with worried eyes and a gentle voice. The bell rang when Eleanor opened the door. Mabel Morrison, an older woman with silver hair, greeted her. Eleanor nervously twisted the ring, remembering all it stood for. She was not ready to let go. Mabel smiled, her kind eyes crinkling. "How can I help you today?" Eleanor opened her mouth, but no words came. How could she say she was selling her heart? Mabel, sensing her distress, gently guided her to a chair. "Sometimes it's easier sitting down." Eleanor sank into the soft chair, grateful. "I need to sell my wedding ring," she whispered. The words hung heavy in the air, but Mabel only looked at her with compassion. "May I see it?" Mabel asked softly. Eleanor removed the ring, her hands trembling. She hadn't worn it in years, but it caught the light as she handed it to Mabel. "This is exceptional craftsmanship," Mabel said, admiring the details. The inscription reads, "Love holds fast." "Thomas picked it out," Eleanor said, tears welling. "He worked months to afford it." Eleanor hesitated, then shared her reason. "I need money for my medication. The price has tripled, and I can't afford it." Mabel nodded and calculated the amount. "This ring is worth more than what you need." "I just want enough," Eleanor said. Mabel wrote the exact amount on a slip of paper. "Are you sure?" Eleanor nodded. With a heavy heart, she signed the papers. At the door, Mabel paused. "Love holds fast in ways we don't expect." Eleanor left, feeling the loss of the ring but grateful for what she had gained. At the pharmacy, Jerry greeted her with a warm smile, but Eleanor couldn't speak. She handed over the prescriptions, the envelope feeling heavier with each step. Jerry's smile faded. He counted the money inside. "I'm still fighting with the insurance," he said. "This shouldn't happen to seniors." Eleanor brushed the counter with her finger. Jerry noticed her missing ring. He didn't say anything but turned to fill her prescriptions. He returned with a small bag. "Some mints for you," he said softly. "On the house." Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, Jerry." Now first, like always, be sure to hit the like button down below. It helps us out tremendously with the reach of this video. Thank you. The walk home felt heavy. The prescription bottles weighed her down. Leaves swirled around her feet. One golden leaf landed on her hand, as if trying to fill the empty space where her ring had been. As she passed her building, she saw Grace in the garden. Grace saw the missing ring. "Are you okay?" she asked gently. The tears Eleanor had held back spilled over. Grace pulled her close. "This isn't right," Grace said. Eleanor wiped her eyes. "It's done. I kept my promise to Thomas." Grace stayed with her until Eleanor had eaten. Then she left. Eleanor didn't see Grace's post, which she made on social media about her selling rings for medicine. Instead, she sat in her quiet apartment. The mints sat untouched. Thomas's photo smiled down on her. She went through her evening with one less reminder of his love. Eleanor reached for her ring, a habit she had for 55 years. It wasn't there. Her finger touched empty air. She whispered, "I did what I had to do. I kept my promise." She didn't know her story was already spreading. Grace's post had gone viral. It made people angry about how seniors have to make hard choices. Eleanor's story touched many hearts, but she slept unaware. She dreamt of her ring and Thomas holding her hand, smiling as he did long ago. Grace couldn't sleep. Her phone buzzed. Her post was shared over 10,000 times. News stations were asking for interviews. By morning, a news van was outside. Grace didn't want to disturb Eleanor, so she decided to help spread the word. Grace's voice floated through Eleanor's window. Seniors are forced to choose between their medications and their most precious possessions. Yesterday, I watched my neighbor sell her wedding ring. She needed money for her medicine. 55 years of love, gone. Eleanor looked up, hearing the words. She walked to the window and peered out. Grace was on the news, talking about senior citizens. "I don't want more money than I need for my medication," she said. "People are too proud to ask for help, too honest to take more than they need." Eleanor sank into her chair, her hands shaking. She wasn't angry at Grace. She knew Grace meant well, but she hated the idea of people pitying her. The news spread fast. By lunch, everyone was talking about it. Eleanor's story was now a symbol. In an office downtown, a woman watched the news. Grace spoke about the ring, its design, and the words inside. The woman's hand went to her mouth. She called her mom. "Mom, what ring did the man from your Blizzard story wear?" Her mom answered, "A gold ring with tiny leaves, and the words, 'Love holds fast.'" The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Mom, I think I found him. Or his wife." Back in her apartment, Eleanor tried to keep busy, ignoring the news. She cleaned her teacups and wrote in her journal, but her left hand felt empty. Eleanor had no idea that across town, Usha Vance was already reaching for her car keys. Her heart raced, thinking of repaying a 30-year-old debt of kindness that had made her life possible. The sun cast long shadows across Eleanor's apartment as she dozed in her favorite chair. The day's emotions had drained her, and her arthritis medicine made her sleepy. Thomas's photo seemed to watch over her with a quiet secret. A knock at the door woke her. She blinked, disoriented, then heard another knock, gentle but insistent. "Just a moment," she called, struggling to rise. Her stiff hands moved slowly, but the medicine helped. She opened the door, expecting Grace or Jerry. Instead, a woman in her 30s stood there, looking at her with deep, familiar eyes. 30 years ago, during a terrible blizzard, your husband helped a young woman stranded downtown. She was 8 months pregnant and alone. Eleanor froze, remembering that night. Thomas was late, and she worried. He came home, gave her money for a hotel, enough for 3 nights plus food. He said he couldn't leave her alone in the storm. The woman saw his ring, a gold band with tiny leaves and "Love holds fast" inside. "Thomas never told me who she was," Eleanor whispered. Usha looked at her. "That woman was my mother. She was stranded, trying to reach family. Her car broke down, and everything was full or too expensive. The buses stopped, and she was about to stay in the bus station when her husband helped her." Usha pulled out an envelope, her voice steady but full of warmth. "Yesterday, you told me about choosing between your wedding ring and your medication. No one should have to make that choice." Eleanor's finger ached from the emptiness, but Usha's voice was strong. "What's done is wrong. It can be fixed. It can be stopped from happening again." She slid a paper across the table. "I wrote this last night. Read it." Eleanor's hands shook as she opened the letter. The letterhead showed a major healthcare foundation, the Thomas Whitcomb Senior Care Initiative, Usha said softly, a program to help seniors afford their medicine, starting in Columbus. No one should have to sell their memories for medicine. Eleanor's eyes filled with emotion. A screen showed the Thomas Whitcomb Senior Care logo, a gold ring with leaves. 1 month ago, Usha shared a story about an elderly woman who had to sell her wedding ring for medicine. We didn't know this story was linked to another from 30 years ago. Jerry from Clayton's Pharmacy thought about the seniors who faced hard choices. Mabel Morrison remembered her father's stories of a young man saving to buy a perfect ring. Usha turned to the stage. "Mom, come up here," she said. An elegant woman in a blue sari stepped forward. Priya took the microphone, her hands shaking. "I was pregnant and stuck in a snowstorm," she said. "Thomas Whitcomb helped me with money and food, but more than that, he gave me hope. That kindness changed everything. Today we are here to help more seniors with their medicine, thanks to his legacy." Usha shared how we're building a place where no one must pick between health and their belongings. "Love holds fast," she said, "not just in words but in actions passed down." The screen showed Thomas at work, Usha and Priya as babies, and Eleanor with her ring. Years ago, Thomas chose kindness on a snowy night. Now we honor that by passing it on. Every senior who gets help will get a card that says, "Love holds fast, pass it on." Eleanor's ring sparkled as she thought of Thomas. She knew he'd want his kindness to live on. That night, the story would spread, inspiring others. Eleanor sat in her home, holding her ring, looking at a photo of her, Priya, and Usha. She whispered, "Love holds fast," and felt the warmth of kindness. The ring glowed, and she dreamed of lives touched by Thomas's kindness. His legacy lived on, showing that love does hold fast. Thanks for watching. See you next time.